Welcome to section 7.5, rational equations. We're really blowing through this chapter 7. Hoping you're getting all these techniques. Everything that we did with these rational expressions, think about it. We never calculated any numbers. We didn't come up with a value for anything. What we did was we took these massive expressions, used some mathematical wizardry to simplify them. And that's nice, but this is the first time where we're going to actually come up with numbers, because rational equations involve the equal sign, and we've never had an equal sign in chapter 7 yet. So how do you deal with expressions that have an equal sign? Because as soon as you have put an equal sign in an expression, then there's a value that needs to be calculated. So let me just put this problem up on there. And there's only 11 questions, so that's not too bad. So y over 2 plus 5/6 equals negative 2/3. Whenever I see a negative on a fraction, I know they like to put it in the middle. I generally put it on the top. This is the way I was taught. Okay, not that it makes a big difference, but that's what I do on the top. Now, what do you do now? Here's what you do. It all boils down, whenever you have adding and subtracting involved there, it all boils down to lowest common denominator. Okay, so you always have to find, of all your fractions in your problem, find the lowest common denominator of all the fractions, 2, 6, and 3. So what's the smallest number that 2 divides into, 6 divides into, and 3 divides into evenly? And that number is 6. The number 6 is the lowest common denominator. Now what you're going to do now is pretty much almost like the complex number stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to put a set of parentheses around the entire expression. We're going to put the number 6 outside that expression, because what we're going to do is multiply everything by that lowest common denominator. And if you do it well, you're going to get rid of your fractions. So just like we did with complex numbers, we're going to circle and point. Okay, circle and point. That means just take a look at the 6, take a look at this fraction, and forget the stuff in between. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So this arrow represents 3 that hooks up with the y to produce 3y. Bring down the plus. Okay, circle and point to this guy. 6's cancel, leaves you with 1. 1 times 5. Bring down the equals. Starting to look prettier already. Circle and point this. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. There you go. And at this point, what we're going to do is just do a little algebra. You're going to subtract 5. I'm going to subtract 5, so I'm just going to do that Algebra 1 stuff. Subtract 5 means this is negative 9. And then y is being multiplied by 3. I'm going to divide by 3. Both sides. Cancels, and so what happens is y equals negative 3. Boom. That's good. Minus 3. All right, so check your answer, and I'm not lying to you. This is what you do. We did 1 of 11. 10 more questions. Okay, now let's clear this palette here. Just don't save it. What we're going to do is say File, New, and create a new virtual sheet of paper here that we're going to mark up. And this is 1 over x. Let me call it x. It's just easier for me to write it out on with my mouse. My t's don't look that good. They look like 1s. 1 minus 23 over 11. And equals, they love their negative sign, so I'm going to put it on top, negative 1 over 11. So now, what's the process again? You're going to multiply the entire expression. That's why I put parentheses around the whole thing, by a common denominator of all the fractions. Now, let's see. I see 11, and I see an x. That's my common denominator. I'm going to circle and point. Okay, and if everything goes well, x's cancel, leaves you with 11. 11 times 1, 11. Bring down the minus. Circle and point this thing. 11's cancel. What does that leave you with? X. So there's a little x here that hooks up with the 23. 23x. Bring down the equals. Circle and point this. 11's cancel. Leaves you with an x. X times minus 1 is negative x. There you go. Now at this point it's fun. It's no more fractions. You got rid of the fractions. What I'm going to do is, let's put the x's on one side. I'm going to add 23x to both sides. Add 23x. Here and add a 23x here. Okay, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. This cancels, leaves you with an 11 equals negative 1 plus 23 is 22x. And then what we're going to do now is divide by 22 because that's the opposite of multiplying. That cancels. X is equal to 11 over 22, which you know is not the right answer because you have to simplify that. 1 over 2 because 11 goes into those numbers. So let me say that they already give us the nice t, so it doesn't matter what I called it, x, y, z, it doesn't matter. But I do have to put in a 1/2. 1 over 2. That's what I got over here. Okay. And I'm going to check my answer. Nice work. Great work. 9 more. I love math. I love algebra. I can keep doing this all day. Okay. Boom. Let's close that. Don't save it. Let's say File New. Okay. Move this over. Okay. X plus 64 over x. X equals 16. Okay, what do? Here's what you do. You're going to multiply the entire expression by the lowest common denominator of all the fractions. This fraction, there's only one fraction, and that's got to be the lowest common denominator. There it is. And then you're going to circle and point this. X times x, x squared. Plus, copy the plus. This circle and point this. The x's cancel, leaves you with 1. 1 times 64. And this is going to be 16x. Nothing, just 16 is not a fraction, so nothing cancels. 16x. And look at this. Doesn't that bring back some memories? You got a problem with a square. And in order to do a problem with a square, you have to have an equal 0. Remember that in Chapter 6, Section 6.5. So what I'm going to do is subtract 16x from both sides and make it look nice and pretty with my squares. 16x minus 16x plus 64 equals 0. And now what do you have to do? You have to factor it. See, these are all the things that you got to remember until the semester is over. And then if you're not going to take math anymore, forget about them. But don't forget about them now. X and x. It looks like double negatives. And I'm going to go with 8 and 8. Okay, that looks like I'll get the negative 16 in the middle, 64 at the end. I'm going to set my factors equal to 0. And doing so, I get x minus 8 equals 0. X minus 8 equals 0. It looks like the only number I get is x is 8. X is 8. Now do not type in x. Don't do this. 8 comma 8. 8 times 8. Okay, don't do that. Because if you do that, you'll get it wrong. There's only one number, 8. Now there's also this thing that I think this is the first time we saw it, there is no solution. It is possible to do everything in math correctly, but your efforts are futile because you generate a number that just doesn't work. Now, in this case, our number is correct. And the reason why I know it's correct is that I could take that 8. Let's see, check your answer. Yeah, that's it. It's correct. I know that was correct because I can certainly plug in 8 everywhere you see a z. 8 plus 64 over 8 is 8 plus 8, 16. That works out nice. Now let's pretend that we did all our math correctly and we had x equals 0. 0 cannot be plugged into the original expression because you get a divide by 0 here, and that's where you get no solution for the 0. You might see that later on in the future questions. So let's move on. And let's clear this out. Don't save. Let's do a file, new, okay. And copy the problem. You know my x. I love my x's. Minus 6 over x plus 1. And you know those are bundles, so you might as well put bundles around them. Minus 5 over 7 equals 0. Okay, what do? I say the same thing over and over again. I put big sets of parentheses around the entire equation. You're going to multiply that entire equation, both sides of the equal sign, by the lowest common denominator. I see two fractions here. The lowest common denominator has to have a 7, and it has to have that bundle. There's your lowest common denominator. And now what you're going to do is you're going to circle and point to each thing. X plus 1's cancel. X plus 1's cancel. Leaves you with the 7. 7 times that set of parentheses, which I'll leave alone right now. That's what I'm going to do. Just leave that alone. Bring down the minus. This times this. 7's cancel. What's left over is the x plus 1 bundle. That bundle, that multiplies to 5. And bring down the equals, circle this, point to that, whatever. 0 times anything is 0. I love the number 0. Okay, there you go. At least we got an expression with no parentheses, with no fractions, but you do have parentheses and they got to go. Multiply through the parentheses. This is 7x minus 42. And what multiplies this set of parentheses is not 5, it's negative 5. It's always with the sign. So negative 5x. And that's a 1. That's a 1. So negative 5 times 1 is negative 5 equals 0. Let's combine our like terms. 2x. 7x minus 5x is 2x. This is minus 47 equals 0. Let's add 47 to both sides. And divide by 2. I get 47 over 2. Okay. That looks like, assuming I did all the math correctly, that is going to be the answer. It's not going to be no solution. It's not going to be no solution. I know that won't be, this can't possibly be the answer because in doing this math, see this, you cannot come up with a number and then plug it into the original expression and generate a divide by 0. See, if I were to come up with x is negative 1, negative 1 plus 1 is 0 in the denominator, and negative 1 it can't be used. So I didn't come up with negative 1. I came up with 47 over 2. 47 divided by 2. Check my answer. Great job. I love seeing green. Love the green. Okay, this problem here, I'm not even sure why it's there. But I'll do it. I'll do it. It's very simple. File new. let's see, x minus 1 divided by 2 equals 3. Make a bundle out of that. Okay? Let's see, what's the lowest common denominator of all the fractions you see? Well, I see just one fraction. It's got a denominator 2, so it's 2. Say 2 times this. Well, 2 goes into 2. 2 divides into 2 one time. 1 times that bundle is x minus 1 equals 6. And then when I add 1, I get 7. So that one really wasn't much of a problem. I'm not sure why it's even there. I mean, in terms of all the stuff that we did so far, that's certainly not a hard one. Okay, what do we do now? Wow, wow, wow. Well, it's starting to get harder and harder, these questions. So let me start off with a new sheet of paper. Don't save it. File, new. Okay. Move this over here. Okay, so let's, oh, they got the variable x, so I don't have to cheat. Let's just copy this. X minus 2. And that's a bundle. That's a big bundle. That's not a big bundle, it's a bundle. 6x equals the number 1. And so now at this point, you got to be a math machine. This is what we're doing. This is how you learn math. You do the problems over and over and over again with the same technique. You know you're going to multiply the whole thing by the lowest common denominator of all the fractions. I see only 2 fractions. The common denominator has to have an x, and it has to have that bundle. There you go. And then what you're going to do is circle and point. Okay, and if you do everything right, all those fractions will go away. X minus 2's cancel. Okay, leaves you with the x here. That x multiplies this x to give you a nice plain x squared. Bring down the minus. Circle and point this. X's cancel. X's cancel leaves you with an x minus 1, minus 2. X minus 2, that multiplies the 6. So 6 times x minus 2, leave the parentheses there, we'll get rid of those later, equals, this times this, well, at this point you're just multiplying those two. 1 times that is whatever this is. Okay, now at least we got rid of the fractions. So what do we do now? Get rid of the parentheses. Got to liberate these terms. So x squared minus 6x minus 6 times, not 6 minus 2, it's negative with the sign. Negative 6 times negative 2 is plus 12 is equal to, now multiply it through here with the x squared minus 2x. Okay, got rid of those. And it looks like it'd be a quadratic or a problem with a square in it, but there isn't. If I subtract x squared from both sides, there is no more x squared. That's good. It's deceptive. Very deceptive problem. Negative 6x plus 12 equals negative 2x. So now I'm going to add 6x to both sides. So it's negative 2x plus 6x is 4x. And then divide by 4, I get 3. I did all that beautiful math. Look at that. It's like a work of art over here. A nice work of art. It could be that that answer is wrong, but I don't think it is because it's okay for me to plug in 3. Okay? 3 minus 2 does not give me a 0 on the bottom. 6 divided by 3 is not a divide by 0. So I'm going to go for it and say, well, the answer is 3. Check your answer. There you go. Fantastic. That was fantastic. That was great. Now we only got, we only got 4 more. 4 more. Time flies when you're having fun. And when you're having a blast, time just goes by, whizzing by. Because it's the same stuff over and over again. And that's okay. That's okay. That's how you learn math. I use the analogy of the gym. Everybody wants to get big. You don't get big by just sitting there and doing 1 rep. You get big by doing multiple reps. So what do? Well, okay, here's what you do. Set of parentheses around the entire expression. The common denominator of all the fractions, I see it's got to be x, but the highest power x term I see is the square, and that's it. Circle and point every term. 1 times x squared is x squared. Bring down the plus. 100 over x, a circle and point that. That's going to be, the x squares cancel, leaves you with 1 times 100. Bring down the equals, and then this is going to be a circle and point. One of these x's cancel, leaves you with an x. So x goes into x squared, x times 20x. Well, you gotta set it equal to 0. That's the only way to do this problem. Minus, let's subtract 20x from both sides to get the beautiful 0. And then we've got to factor it. So I get x and x for the x squared. I need a double negative. And it looks like it's 10 and 10. Okay, you set your factors equal to 0. You're only going to get one number. X equals 10. That's it. Just once. X equals 10. That's all I can tell you. Set those factors equal to 0. This is where I get that x equals 10 now. And you're doing it twice. In both times you get 10. And 10 is okay to plug in. You don't get a divide by 0. So I'm going to go with that and say 10. Check your answer. Fantastic. I don't want this to end. I'm having fun. I'm having so much fun, I don't want this to end. Well, let's see what happens here. This looks like a really complicated problem because I've got 3 fractions, and let's see what makes this complicated. Okay. Well, let's see. 4 over the bundle x plus 1 minus 3 over the bundle x minus 1 equals 2x over x squared minus 1. And that happens to be a bundle. All right. So what do? We've got 3 fractions, and those 3 fractions, we need to find the lowest common denominator. And before you can find the lowest common denominator, you have to factor your denominators. We didn't have to do that in the previous 8. The denominators weren't that complicated. This needs to be factored. That's a difference of 2 squares. So I'm going to put the factor job right below here. X plus 1, x minus 1. So I did the factoring. And then what I'm going to do is say, well, I'm going to multiply the entire thing by the lowest common denominator. You have to have every factor you see listed once. Well, I see an x plus 1. And that takes care of every x plus 1 I see. I don't see any higher power x plus 1, so that's good. X minus 1. And that takes care of every factor. That's it. That is it. Now, circle, point. Focus your eyes on those 2. The x plus 1s cancel. X plus 1 on top, x plus 1 on the bottom, they cancel, but it leaves you with this x minus 1 bundle that follows the arrow to marry up with the 4. So this is going to be 4 times x minus 1. And I'm not going to do the multiplication yet. Do that later. Minus, bring down the minus. Do the same thing here. In this case, the x minus 1s cancel. Leaves you with the x plus 1 bundle that follows the arrow to hook up with the 3. 3x plus 1. Starting to look better already. Bring down the equals. And then this times this, and look at this. X plus 1 cancels. X minus 1 cancels. Everything cancels. Leaves you leaves you with 1. 1 times 2x is 2x. Boy, We started with something intense. It looks a lot easier. The next thing is to get rid of the parentheses. So let's see, 4x minus 4 minus 3x. Remember, minus 3 times 1 is minus 3 equals 2x. And we might as well clean up our x's and our numbers. So we have 4x minus 3x is x. Minus 4 minus 3 is minus 7 equals 2x. Let's subtract x from both sides. I'm going to get a minus 7 equals x. Hey, that's good. That's done. Minus 7. And, you know, hopefully I did everything correctly. Hopefully that's the case. And minus 7 is a legitimate answer because I can plug in minus 7 in for x and I will not get a divide by 0. So I'm going to go for it. I'm hoping to get one of these with its no solutions. So what did we say? It was minus 7. Minus 7. Minus 7. Check your answer. Great. I hate those dreaded red boxes. What's the next one? And the next one. Okay. We'll do them all. We'll do them all. Close this. Don't save. File new. File new. Okay. Move this over to here and let's have some fun. 1 over x plus 1 over x plus 4 bundle, okay, equals 16 over x squared plus 4x. Okay, let's see what you got. And you know that this is one big bundle too. I need to find the lowest common denominator, and I can't find the lowest common denominator until every denominator is factored. You can't factor x. You can't factor that bundle, but what you can do is pull out an x from this, and I'm going to put the answer right below x plus 4. There you go. Bundle that. Now what I'm going to do is make a big set of parentheses to multiply both sides. Find the lowest common denominator, which has to have every term you see listed once, highest power. X, and I see an x plus 4. Okay, I love this circle and point. X's cancel, leaves you with the bundle x plus 4. That comes along the arrow to hook up with the 1, and that's not much of a hookup because it's x plus 4. Times 1 is x plus 4. Bring down the plus. Circle and point. X plus 4's cancel, leaves you with the x. X times 1 equals this times this. And look at this. The x's cancel. X plus 4 cancel, leaves you with 1. 1 times 16. And it looks to me like you got 2x plus 4 equals 16. I need to subtract 4 from both sides is 12. X equals 6. Geez, I'm not getting a no solution. I wanted a no solution. Well, okay. Maybe you won't get one either. I'm going to put in 6 and then check answer. Okay, fantastic. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Let's pretend I did all this wonderful math, and then we got down to this point, and pretend, and we got x equals negative 4. Okay? Negative 4 is no good, because if I plug this in, as soon as I find a fraction where if I plugged in negative 4 plus 4 gives me a 0 and the denominator stop. Not a valid answer. So even though we went through all this hard work, it just doesn't work. So I would have to hit no solution. Okay. Okay, come down here. Let's do the last problem. The last problem looks simpler compared to what we've been doing. So let's do this. Last problem. And okay, what do we got here? Let's put more space here. We got a minus 2. We might as well put a bundle here. Divided by 4. They were nice enough to already pull out the 4. Okay, they were nice enough to do that. That's the denominator. Minus 3 over 11 equals 0. Well, they already gave us all the factors. Okay, so we got to multiply both sides by the common denominator. The smallest number that 4 goes into and 11 goes into evenly is 44. 44. See, 11 goes into 44 and 4 goes into 44. And then we still got another factor that you have to include, minus a minus 1. And now you do your circle and point. Okay, what do we got here? The a minus 1's cancel. But something else you have here is 4 goes into 44 11 times. See, the a minus 1's will cancel. Then what we got on top is 44. That's being divided by 4, which is 11. That's what the answer is. 11 times the top is a minus 2. I'll do the parentheses later. Bring down the minus. Circle and point this. Now what do we got here? Well, the 11 goes into 44 4 times. And we still have that a minus 1. That didn't divide out. There's no variables down here. But that expression, 4 times a minus 1, has to multiply the 3 to give you 12. A minus 1. And luckily, anything times 0 is going to be 0, so that's good. That's 0. Now that's a 2. That's a 2. Then that's an ugly looking 2. That looks like a Z, but it's a 2. Next step, get rid of all the parentheses. 11a minus 22 minus 12 times a. Minus 12 times negative 1 is plus 12 equals 0. Combine your like terms. 11a minus 12a is negative 1a. Negative 22 plus 12 is negative 10 equals 0. And now if I add a to both sides, I'll have the answer. Negative 10 equals a. Okay, and we don't even have the option of no solution, so I'm going to put negative 10 there. Check your answer, and that was a fantastic. And you can get a fantastic too. Remember, it's just basically circle and point. Find the lowest common denominator, multiply the entire equation, multiply this entire equation by the lowest common denominator, and then have fun. All right. We'll see you in section 7-6. Bye.